Top story, Fort Smith, the finalist in competition from a company owned by Elon Musk. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman has a look at the project the city submitted in hopes of building a tunnel under the Arkansas River.
Fort Smith set out to win a competition put on by Elon Musk's company. Now this is all because they need an upgrade to help support water distribution. Out of 487 proposals, they were chosen as the top 16. Fort Smith was named a finalist in an underwater tunnel challenge. The city beat out hundreds of others in a competition put on by Boring Company. The city wants to bore a 30-mile line from Lake Fort Smith through the Arkansas River, with a mile of that under the Arkansas River. Todd Middage, the director of engineering, says it's the best way to do it.
We have a reservoir up in Crawford County at Lake Fort Smith State Park that we currently draw from with 2 straws. This is going to give us a 3rd straw.
Middage told me the pipes they have now were built in the 1930s to 50s and don't reach far.
Get down to the Chaffee Crossing area, and it'll boost pressures for the rest of the city too and provide areas for future expansion.
This water transmission line not only will service the city of Fort Smith, of course, but 5 other counties.
Spokesperson for the city, Josh Bufink, says this will provide the community with the ability to grow in multiple ways.
Supports the expansion of manufacturing, of industry here in Fort Smith. It supports our military bases at Ebbing Air National Guard, at Fort Chaffee.
This is adding another artery to the city, and we'll get better fire flows, better growth potential.
Bufink says winning could save the city around $20 million and believes they've found the safest way to do it. Bufink says city leaders will meet with the Boring Company next week and will learn by March 23rd if they were selected. In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Laura Castleman, 5 News.
In other news, the family of the man who died at the Washington County Jail is now asking for answers following his funeral today. James Eddie Gore died days after being arrested for stabbing his wife and a caregiver at his Farmington home. The Gore family said Eddie suffered from a brain tumor and his health was declining fast. He died in custody while being taken to an ambulance on its way to a hospice care facility. Family members are arguing that Gore should not have spent his final days in jail, and officials should have done more to help.
I started calling. Why are you rejecting him? Why can't we get him moved? The reason why, because nobody signed the order. A judge didn't sign it, a prosecutor didn't sign it, the sheriff didn't sign it.
Washington County Prosecutor Brandon Carter called the situation tragic, but said, quote, that the situation was unavoidable from the perspective of this office. Now you can read his full statement and the Washington County Sheriff's statement on our website at 5newsonline.com. Well, this morning, police in Paris arrested an armed suspect seen on the property of St. Joseph Catholic School. Police said school staff noticed someone walking with what appeared to be a weapon around 10 a.m. The school then went on full lockdown before police arrived and later arrested the suspect off school property. No staff or students were harmed during the incident. The Paris police chief told us he needed to talk with the city attorney before releasing the suspect's name, and we have not heard back tonight. American forces throughout the Middle East are the targets of Iranian missile and drone attacks, and now we're learning Iran is getting help finding the targets. Erica Brown reports as this comes as the president says the fighting will not end until Iran completely surrenders.
As the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran rages on, the White House says the U.S. is still on track for a 4 to 6 week military campaign against Iran. Friday evening, President Trump gave his assessment as the war enters a 2nd week.
Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone.
Earlier, Iran's president said other countries have tried to begin mediation efforts aimed at ending the conflict. President Trump responded saying, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender and the selection of a great and acceptable leader. At the White House Friday, President Trump met with the U.S.'s largest defense contractors and said they've agreed to quadruple production of exquisite class weapons.
This is a pre-scheduled meeting, and the purpose of it is to talk about the president's aggressive and fierce support for rapidly increasing the ability of U.S. manufacturers to produce American-made weapons.
Multiple sources tell CBS News that Russia is sharing intelligence with Iran on U.S. positions in the region. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth spoke with 60 Minutes in an interview airing Sunday.
Does this put U.S. personnel in any more danger than they otherwise would be?
Well,
the Russian involvement.
No one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys in danger. That's our job. So we're not concerned about that. We mitigate it as we need to.
This weekend, President Trump is set to attend the dignified transfer of the 6 U.S. service members killed in Kuwait. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Well, as the war continues in Iran, so does the impact it has at the gas pump. 20% of the world's oil shipping goes through a major route in the Middle East, and that's led to crude oil prices being their highest prices in nearly 2 years. AAA says that Arkansas has seen a 34-cent increase in average gas prices statewide. The national average there today for a gallon eclipsed $3.32. Diesel prices also continue to skyrocket. Today, the average in Arkansas was $3.97 a gallon, up 54 cents from a week ago. Now, that impact could soon spill over to airports. According to United, the CEO, Scott Kirby, he says ticket prices will likely skyrocket very soon due to rising fuel costs. The Argus Jet Fuel Index says prices have already shot up 56% since last week. Airliners have also faced lost revenue from canceled flights in the Middle East due to the war. Well, here at home, Arkansas Supreme Court overturned a precedent that's been around for the past 2 decades. Pretextual arrest. It's when an officer arrests a person for a lesser charge in order to investigate potential involvement in a more serious crime. The Supreme Court heard an appeal involving a White County man found guilty of capital murder. According to the Supreme Court ruling, Christopher Gamble was taken into police custody following a dispute at a hotel and was questioned on possession of drug paraphernalia. Gamble was then asked questions about the murder case and was arrested right after. He later appealed the ruling and claimed police illegally took him into custody because they only wanted to talk about the murder case. Now, the Supreme Court disagreed and ruled his arrest was legal. In turn, they overturned the precedent that said any evidence obtained in pretextual arrest without warrants can be thrown out during a trial. The majority ruling says that the opinion comes in line with the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling. Well, at the governor's mansion, Sarah Huckabee Sanders awarded a posthumous Medal of Honor to a fallen Arkansas soldier today. Adam Brown was born in Hot Springs and a member of the elite Navy SEAL Team 6. He was killed in Afghanistan back in 2010.
He was a man of honor, and he was a man of passion, and that he served his country with distinction and valor, and he gave. And that is a life worth living. Adam Brown's story is a story of redemption. This isn't a perfect person. He had struggles, he had challenges, but they didn't conquer him. He conquered those challenges, and that is what is so inspiring about the Adam Brown story.
His story is told in a book titled Fearless. The Hot Springs Post Office is named in his honor.